All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Ben. So I'm one of the graduate assistants at the Student Academic Resource Center. Specifically, I help supervise the supplemental instruction program, which I'll go into a little bit more detail just to give a little bit more information as we get moving. But just to make sure everybody's here in the right place. So this is the workshop on overcoming procrastination. And just to go ahead and give kind of a disclaimer, if there's anything that you need in terms of like credit for being here or something that we need to sign or anything like that, we're going to be taking care of that at the very end. We'll have an evaluation that you're going to go ahead and complete. And during that process, so that'll serve as the record for us that you attended here. And then we'll also go ahead and take care of any other signatures or anything that you need for your own purposes, okay? So while we have a few people that are still rolling in, I'm going to go ahead and pass out these sheets. Did anyone else not get one of these besides those who just came in? There you go. Cool. All right. Cool. So first, I'm just going to kind of jump through, just giving like some information about the Student Academic Resource Center, and then we'll kind of move into our main topic. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thanks. I do have the clicker. All right, so just first to get started, so if anybody's familiar with Goose Chase, we just want to make sure to plug this. So you can access that through the UCF mobile app and for fall 2019, and you can get different points and stuff like that for being here. You can get free stuff. So you would get 5,000 link loot if you started that, and you can win different prizes and stuff like that, like UCF t-shirts, for example. So if that applies to any of you, know that this qualifies for Goose Chase. All right, so now a little bit more information about SARC services before we jump into what our main topic is going to be today. All right, so some of the different services that we provide through the Student Academic Resource Center, includes our peer tutoring services. So does everybody know where SARC is located? I guess I should start with that. Does anybody want to volunteer that information? So it's in Trevor Colburn Hall. So that is going to be over. It's near like the Fine Arts Building and like the Education Complex building. So it's the brand new building, has like IKEA colors on the inside. If that like rings any bells for anyone. So we're going to be one of the first rooms when you come in from like the campus side, like towards like the Union here, and that's where we do most of our peer tutoring. We have peer tutoring there for a variety of different subjects, especially like the main sciences. We also have our CECS lab as well for our computer science and engineering related courses. If you're interested in getting tutoring related to that, definitely take advantage of that. So those are usually group sessions. We have our schedule posted online. If you just like Google SARC UCF, you can see those. It's a great resource for you to take advantage of, and those are tutoring sessions that you can just roll through at any point in time. You don't have to be there at the very beginning. You don't have to like register or something in advance. You can just attend those freely. In addition, though it's not included on here, we're also starting to introduce this one-on-one peer tutoring that's also possible. If you're interested in that, again, you go to the SARC UCF website and you can fill out a form to set up an appointment there. And so that's where you can actually get like one-on-one help with one of our tutors there at SARC. All right, and then supplemental instruction. So this is what I kind of help oversee as a grad assistant. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask, how many people have heard of SI before? Okay, so it looks like a majority. Just to kind of give a little bit of a review of that. So SI refers to these series of like weekly study sessions that we have on different locations around campus. You can find our schedule online, but there'll be an appointed SI leader for certain courses that are notoriously difficult and that a lot of students take. So we're talking like biology, chemistry, like engineering, statics, computer science 1, for example, amongst many, many others. And it's a great free resource that's available for you to be able to work with somebody who's taken the class before, who's a peer, who's got an A in it, and so who knows what kind of strategies and things are going to be helpful for preparing for that particular class. I'm going to go ahead and pass this to this individual. I have a sheet for you. Do you have a question? Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I get a sheet too?
Sure. All right. So okay. Thank you. Anybody else still need one? All set? Cool. Oh, right over there. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, no problem. Also, let me see if I can grab one. There you go. All right, am I missing anyone? Cool. All right. All right, and then we have academic coaching and engagement, so ACE coaching. How many people have heard of ACE coaching before? Okay, so maybe like one individual, maybe just like a couple of like shy hands or whatever. So a little bit about ACE coaching. That's a great opportunity if, like, for example, you're looking for more information, like kind of like what we're going over today, but something that's a little bit more specific to you. It's a great opportunity to essentially, you'll sit down with somebody who is one of our ACE coaches in our lab in Trevor Colburn Hall. You will set up an appointment online. And essentially, you can bring in, like, let's say you're struggling a lot with how to study for a particular class or with time management, like just how to like make sense and like create a good schedule for yourself. Anything like that, you can bring to one of these ACE coaches and you'll sit down. It's an hour-long appointment, and you can kind of build up like a plan and kind of create, you know, whatever type of structure. Usually they bring like worksheets or different activities or things that you can do there to kind of help you get what kind of skills that you need to set you up for success going forward. We have our academic success workshops, like this one today, and then we also have SARC Online. So if you go to the SARC UCF website, you can find a portal to SARC Online, and it's going to have a lot of the kind of resources that we'd be bringing into these ACE coaching sessions or into these academic workshops, which you're welcome to use and take advantage of. All right, so now jumping into the content. So first, I'm just going to kind of ask for some discussion. So how has procrastination affected you since beginning college? Yes.
It gives me more stress and anxiety.
Okay, more stress and anxiety. Yep, of course. Yes.
It's already made me miss an online quiz.
Oh, wait, what? I'm sorry, it's already made you what?
It made me miss an online quiz.
You already missed an online quiz because of procrastination. Okay, yep. So missing deadlines or getting really, really close to deadlines, and when you approach those, it causes a lot of stress and anxiety. Anyone else? Yes. Yep, yep. So you start risking like your own like health and like starting to cut back on like sleep or maybe eating or like doing certain things because you pushed things so far that now you have to like cram or you need to study and or work on a paper till like 2 a.m. or something like that to get it completed. Okay. So I think most of us have had some type of experience with procrastinating before. Maybe some people do better than others in trying to, you know, avoid procrastination, but that's what we're going to be talking about today, or what are some strategies and things like that to kind of help you get through that. So first, I just want to kind of just like validate everybody's experiences here, and that's that college poses a lot of challenges to students. So especially in comparison to like courses that you've taken before, like in high school, for example, there's like an increase in the course load and rigor. For a lot of students, especially students that are new to college, it's their first time maybe like breaking away from like, you know, living at home, for example, and going to high school. There's an increase in responsibilities, so including like you have to be the one in charge to keep yourself organized with your assignments. You may be in a place now where you have to be watching after your specific needs. So like, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you exercising? Are you taking care of yourself in general? A lot of people have jobs or other types of responsibilities that they have to balance. You know, some people maybe are coming in and they may, you know, be coming into college a little bit later. So they have families, for example, they need to attend to, and they're trying to balance all this type of stuff. And it can make it easy to procrastinate on certain deadlines and things because you're prioritizing other things in your life. And that's understandable. And today we're going to kind of talk about, again, what are some strategies to kind of help better manage your time and help avoid that procrastination so you don't cause yourself undue stress and anxiety. In addition to social life. So a lot of people, again, are coming in and there's new social opportunities, parties to go to, people to see, and it can be really easy to do something that's more pleasant and more fun than to have to put yourself through working on a paper, doing like some online like chemistry problems, etc. So all in all, overwhelming and stressful, and so that could cause you to delay taking any action at all, because why do we want to put ourselves through stuff that's stressful or unpleasant, you know, if we don't have to immediately? And that's pretty much what motivates procrastination. So we're going to be talking about some different ways to overcome procrastination today, and it is kind of broken up into a few different sections. So we have motivation, time management, goal setting, and self-discipline. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about motivation. And I'm going to go ahead and preface everything in that I'm a counseling master's student, so this kind of stuff is a little bit important to me. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of discussion in just a moment. But taking time to reflect on your motivations, I believe, can go a really long way. So if you're finding that you're procrastinating all the time with a particular class or all of your classes, start to ask yourself some of these questions of, one, why am I procrastinating? And is it a problem of motivation? You don't feel motivated to do it? If so, try to remind yourself, why are you pursuing the degree that you're pursuing? What are the things that you want in life? It's a big question, it's a scary question, but it's something to start thinking about. How is your major or the program that you're in taking you to where you want to be in terms of your life goals and things like that? Because maybe there could be a mismatch between what you're doing now in college, between what you want to be doing in the future. And if there is a mismatch, you need to find out, do I just need to kind of keep reminding myself what the end goal is, and so I can kind of push through this chemistry course that doesn't seem to align with what I want to do in the future? Or do I need to reevaluate what am I doing in college right now? So I think it's important to really consider those things and consider what's important to you. So really kind of reflecting on, what are your motivations? Why are you here? And so with that, I'm going to ask that we have these lovely circular tables so that are perfect for everybody talking to each other. So I'm going to ask that you in groups just now take a few minutes and talk about, what is the dream? What's your dream? Where are you trying to go? Why are you here? Why are you in college and the major that you're in? And start to begin to have those type of conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and challenge you guys to talk about that, and we'll come back in a few minutes. I'm listening in Ryan's dream. Please tell me.
My dream is to get a nice job. Yeah.
Okay.
And preferably at some sort of biotech company. So that's why I'm here at school, in college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why do you want a nice job?
So I can be financially stable.
What do you need financial stability for?
To pursue. To pursue hobbies outside of living.
Okay.
Go on vacations.
Mm-hmm.
Travel.
Okay.
My name is Jess. I'm also a grad student. Sorry. The dream is to work at UCF for the rest of my life, honestly, because I love it here. And that wasn't my dream to begin with. And it's a my future dream. That's what I was. And I'm in my program because I want to help students like you, and I want to work as a coordinator or an advisor or something like that. Hopefully dean of students one day, and maybe I'll be the president here in the next. I want to be big.
Cool.
Wow. You look really bad. My dream is to live somewhere
Me too.
in the. I want to phrase this different. Live somewhere in the south. Wilderness, I guess. Like a decent house. Nice wraparound porch. Yeah, like a nice wraparound porch. In the fourth bedroom, one floor.
Like in the actual woods, like you want neighbors and stuff, or in the woods. All right, why are you in college?
I don't know. I have no idea.
That had nothing to do with why you're in college.
Nope, I had no idea.
What do you mean? What's your major?
My major's
Sure.
computer science. I came in wanting to challenge myself. I've done that. And I don't know. I just trying to finish right now. I have a job lined up. Nope. I have a job lined up, but I don't know if I'm going to take it.
You got time.
Yeah, no. I'm just checking. Me? So the dream, see, like, I've actually struggled a little bit with kind of ironing out what that is a little bit. I mean, I have certain like personal goals for myself, but related to my program, I don't know. I know that I want to work in the in some type of university context, whether that's eventually going back to get my PhD, like maybe in like counseling psychology, for example. That's a possibility. But I would like to live life with an income for at least a couple years.
Yeah.
So once I finish this master's program, gonna live life for a while.
Yeah.
So as opposed to going immediately back in school and being on a stipend and not being able to afford things, I'd like to get off food stamps.
Yeah.
That's a goal. But apart from that, though, if not like immediately working like on a PhD, I would like to work on in an on-campus kind of like counseling facility, kind of like CAPS. I think there's a lot of room for change in how those services are provided, and also a lot of students that need that type of assistance. So there's like a huge need that isn't completely able to be filled, and that's why we have to like push people through so quickly.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It needs additional services.
Mm-hmm.
We're not ready for that conversation.
Are you muted?
Am I muted? I don't believe so.
Tasty.
No, it's not. I'm not muted.
Everybody can hear you correct?
I don't care. Because I'm about to ask people to share it. So, all right. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and bring it back a little bit. So thank you all for being willing to talk to each other and start to share those parts of yourself. Does anybody want to share maybe like they noticed any patterns in terms of like what people were saying, or if anybody wants to share some of their own reasons why they're here and what they're shooting for? Yeah.
I'd say like sleep deprivation
Okay.
towards everybody.
That's the dream,
Yeah.
to be sleep deprived. Or are you saying that so people are becoming sleep deprived, like in the process of trying? Okay, so workaholics.
Just putting in that work nonstop, don't have enough time to sleep.
Okay. Does that resonate with people not having enough time to sleep? Feeling like that? Too tired to be productive? Okay. But do you feel like the work, the cutting back on sleep, is it going towards something that you want to work towards, or what is that playing into? No?
Throughout the semester, yeah.
Okay. What about anybody else? Any like patterns of things that they heard? Yeah.
Financial stability in the end.
Okay. Yep, financial stability. So that's important to a lot of people. That's something they value because then that kind of sets the stage for them to get maybe other things that they want as well. I think for most people, financial stability is generally important. Yes.
And wanting to follow our dreams, a lot of us, like, we're all here at UCF because of multiple reasons. Like, maybe there's a school that accepted you, but, like, you didn't really like it, or a scholarship, or, like, you got rejected from certain schools.
Okay.
Or you just like the how it's the epicenter of Orlando.
Okay.
And how there's so many great opportunities at UCF
Okay. So you talked a lot about like how you found yourself here at this particular university and how you entered into that. And it sounds like there were a lot of different things that kind of brought people here. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for kind of starting to have that kind of discussion. Again, I think it's important to kind of think about those things, and if you find that you struggle with motivation and trying to think of how is something that I'm doing now playing into that big picture, consider, is it actually playing into that dream that you want? And if it is, trying to maybe have some way to visualize it for yourself, whether it's like a post-it note that you put somewhere or something to represent that, or something on your phone, like a notification that you could send to yourself every so often. Something just to kind of keep reminding you of like what your purpose, what you're trying to shoot for, and to remind yourself that what you're doing now is a step towards that, even if it seems like it's not really taking you there.
What if it isn't?
That's a good thing. So, I mean, that's what I was trying to suggest too. Like, ask yourself these questions, because maybe it's not. And if it's not, then that's when you have to kind of reevaluate. Are there different steps I could be taking? Do I need to kind of change my plan? And that can be kind of scary to make those types of changes. And so that's when I'm going to say it's important to maybe try to find, important people in your life, people that you can find support in, to maybe talk through those things, whether that's family, friends, maybe reaching out to a counselor. So I'm going to plug counseling because I'm a counseling student, but trying to help people kind of reevaluate where their life has been at and where they want to take it to the future is something that counseling can really help with. And we do have CAPS on campus that is completely free and available to students. You can always set up appointments there, for example, if you think that would be an asset to you, like a third party to kind of talk with and kind of bounce back those ideas of like, maybe my future should go in a different direction and the steps that I'm taking now are actually helping me get there. All right. So now we're going to talk about motivation in the short term, though. And so I'm going to kind of throw out like some tips and strategies and things that at least have been helpful to me, and I know have been helpful to other people in the past. I'll talk about a little bit of a disclaimer at the very end of the presentation, but I'll go ahead and say a little bit now that, just a reminder, these are just like some strategies and things that have helped me out in the past and have helped other people. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be, that you may find it helpful, but hopefully these can be kind of good starting points, and you can always modify them, change them, throw them away, whatever you need to do to kind of help you figure out your kind of plan. So I know for me, like getting started on like an essay, for example, is like the hardest part of the essay. The actual writing itself usually isn't a big deal. It's getting myself to sit down and actually start typing. And so for me, one thing that's been helpful is like setting a timer and being like, all right, I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. And maybe you could do this with studying too. Like you need to hit the books, but you just can't bring yourself to sit down and actually do it. And so it's like, all right, I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to do it for X amount of time. And when that timer is done, then I can stop. And what I've traditionally have found to be the case is that once I like reach that end point, it was just so much easier just to keep going and keep plugging away at that point. So I'd already started like my intro paragraph on the essay, and I can just keep writing. I don't really feel like I'm going to get distracted and get pulled out of that activity just because the timer went off, because it kind of got you into that headspace to actually work and get stuff done. So that's one thing just to think about. If that maybe could be helpful to you, that's something that you could try. All right, so now moving on a little bit to time management. So there's been a lot of different empirical studies that have suggested that time management may be more important to grades than the actual time that you spent studying. So what that means is that like actually having like structure and like planning out like what you're going to be doing during your study periods can service you way better than just being like, I'm going to cram for 12 hours nonstop, like for one day, for example. So having a plan and using your time effectively is better than just using your time in an ineffective way for a longer period, if that makes sense. So one thing that could be helpful to people is kind of breaking up your work into small, like easily completed like chunks. So rather than study like 1 day or 2 days in advance for like multiple hours on end, you're staying up till 3 a.m. Like cramming for an exam that's the next morning. Instead, maybe start a week in advance and only do like 15 to 30 minutes every day. And then maybe the night before you do a little bit more of an overview for maybe like an hour or two, and then you call it good. That's essentially how I studied in undergrad. Is I would generally look at the syllabus and be like, all right, I have an exam at this time, and so I'm going to start a week from that, and I'm going to kind of break up each of the individual chapters like for each day. So maybe like Monday, I'm going to work on this chapter. Tuesday, this chapter. I usually would rewrite my notes because that was something that I found helpful. But however you study and have found, whatever methods that you have found to be effective for you in studying, to do those, but starting early and having a plan of attack can be extremely helpful. And starting early can lead to positive academic outcomes. So essentially, there's more empirical support for that as well. And creating a routine. So if you create a routine for studying and incorporate it in your daily schedule, again, maybe just like a little like time interval every day, 30 minutes or an hour or something like that, then studying starts to fit in with the rest of your life as opposed to taking away time from the things that you actually enjoy. So if you know that you reserve 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock to work on your assignments or study or do anything else, and you build that into your schedule, it's no longer really going to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to study today, like there's an exam coming up. It just becomes something internalized, just like you going to class or doing some other type of activity. It may not be exactly pleasant, but building it into your schedule in that kind of way can kind of help you get through it a little bit more. And when you create that routine, it's good to like identify like a specific place to go to, and like have the same conditions every time. Again, just to kind of create that kind of structure and that routine for yourself. And then one thing that has been helpful for me is to communicate my plans to other people. So it kind of helps me like hold myself accountable to like say, I need to work on this today. I need to do this. I need to do that. You can always bring other people in. Maybe you can work on the same assignments together. Fewer schedule conflicts can arise from that. Your friends know that you're working on a paper, so they're not going to try to like push you to go do something like when they know that you're reserving that time for that. And again, you can get support and you can even work together. So maybe you study together, and that's something that's helpful for you. And you get that social time. All right. Creating a study plan or to-do list. So how many people do some iteration of this? All right, cool. So it looks like a majority. So what are we talking, like to-do lists, like written out? Is that how most people do it? Or does anybody want to talk about how they kind of manage their time? Yeah.
Like a monthly agenda, and then after that, you kind of have Monday, you set up what you need to get done throughout the week, highlight what needs to get done in
Okay.
regards to that day as the week goes on,
Okay.
what needs to get done.
Okay. So you're starting from like an entire month and kind of figuring out what are some like the big things you can be working on, and then every week you're kind of prioritizing what are those individual things you need to work on. Awesome. Yes.
I have like a dry erase board. It's a calendar where I have days of class,
Mm-hmm.
exams, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
social events, and kind of other events.
Mm-hmm.
And then on my whiteboard, I have like my goals for like my classes, and then I have the upcoming assignments for the week. I do that like on Sunday, just to keep updating like grades at the bottom, like percentage points up or down.
Awesome. So it sounds like you have a really good visualization of, so you said like the goals that you have in class, the things you're working on, the big events and like dates that you need to be like keeping track of, and being able to probably have that reminder and keep that updated really helps you stay on task a little bit more. Yes.
I usually keep like a month of events, so like in my planner, the whole month laid out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like what's going on every day, and then since I have 4 classes, I'll go every day to 2 classes. So
Okay.
I'm not worried about every single class every single day.
Okay. Okay.
Mine
Yes.
is very on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has like very organized and frameworks. Mine, I literally say like what's due tonight, and I just like write down whichever is most important will come first.
Okay.
Like whichever has like the greatest impact on my grades without like favor over the lesser ones.
Okay. But it still sounds like there's a little bit of like waiting until the night that it's due.
But it's a study plan for that small element.
Mm-hmm. So you're still prioritizing though, which is an important thing to do, is sometimes you need to think about what are the things I need to get done now, what are going to be most important to like the class, and so that's an important skill to have. Yes.
I never really write out a to-do list, but I'm like constantly checking the Canvas app,
Mm-hmm.
all the assignments, and then just prioritizing the dates and then what classes they're for.
Mhm.
Like even in high school, like we had to do stuff, but I never looked at the planner. I always like looked at my phone or something to see what was due.
Okay.
So I just, for some reason, writing the stuff, I never look at it.
Okay.
personally.
Yeah, everybody has their own different styles and things like that with kind of keeping track of things. Some people do well with just, referring to like these external resources like Canvas or web courses or something and keeping track of assignments that way. But definitely I would encourage, like if you haven't tried it before, trying out a to-do list or maybe something even a little bit more involved, and that would be like a study plan. So like this is like, I think we have a template online, I believe, that you can mess with, or if you wanted to set one of these up with like an ACE coach, you could make one of those appointments, or you can just Google create a study plan and you could probably find stuff online too. But this one, it looks a little scary, but then when you actually consider it, they have blocks for like lunch and like a dinner break, going to the gym, fun and relaxation time, which this person apparently only has fun on Saturdays. But so you don't have to necessarily do that. You could build in fun and relaxation time into other times of your week, or family time we have on Sunday. But then you see all these different blocks for study time. And so creating that schedule for yourself, like actually planning like what am I using each amount of time to dedicate towards, can be something that can be really helpful for you. A lot of people talk about how they just feel like they don't have any time during the day to get stuff done. But if you actually like go and kind of map out what are you doing during a lot of the lengths of time during the day, you'll find it was maybe like scrolling on your phone or watching, like binge watching stuff, or, doing things that maybe aren't necessarily helping you in a lot of ways. It's important to have that type of time for yourself to kind of unwind and decompress and relax. But maybe like setting aside specific time for that, as opposed to just like doing it whenever it feels like necessary, like in the moment. So creating a study plan like that can be helpful if you're finding you just don't have time during the day. All right, let me check and see how we're doing with time right now. All right, 1:30. So goal setting. So this is actually the sheet that I passed out. I think we had one or maybe two people who maybe came in a little bit later who did not receive one of these sheets. So if that's you, could you raise your hand for me? Okay, awesome. So I'll pass that to you. So first we'll kind of review this just a little bit, and then I'll have you complete that. You want to complete one, Ryan? All right, thank you. Everybody else good? Cool. How many people have heard of the SMART acronym before? All right, so it looks like a fair number of you. Does anybody want to kind of, you can read it specifically, or does anybody want to kind of give a little bit of a synopsis for me, what SMART refers to, or why it's helpful? Jessica.
I think instead of like saying like, oh, I'm gonna do my homework, it's more important to be like, okay, I'm gonna read chapter 3 for this test that's coming up. So it's like establishing like little goals like that can help, or at least me personally, help my like long-term goals and like get stuff done, rather than just saying I'm gonna do something. It's like I like to look at it piece by piece and piece it all together.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it really helps narrow down your goals into something that's more readily achievable. So to kind of review the acronym, it might differ a little bit. Actually, no, we got it the same. Sometimes people will write achievable as opposed to attainable, kind of varies. But so SMART goals are goals that are specific. So they have a detail. So again, as opposed to being like, I'm going to study for biology today, it'd be like, I'm going to like review chapter 3, for example. Measurable, so it's important to be able to quantify the goal, so that way you know when you accomplished it. So again, as opposed to saying, I'm going to study for bio, being like, I'm going to review chapter 3 for 20 minutes, so you know when like you completed that or not, if you did that for the 20-minute time period, which also plays into time bound, which is the very last one, but I'm jumping. It's important to set those types of constraints again, so that way it's, again, more readily achievable. Attainable, it should be something that's capable of being accomplished. So that's usually when we're talking more about like life goals of like, I'm going to be the president of the United States or something like that. That is possible, but is it readily achievable and attainable? That, maybe open to question potentially. So maybe then it's breaking down into smaller little goals that you could take as steps towards what you want to do eventually. And then relevance. Your goals should be relevant to what are your concerns at the moment, what are your long-term goals and things that you're focusing on. So I want to get good grades. Well, then your goals related to studying are going to be important and central to that. So we already kind of heard from some people when it talked about how they would like do their to-do lists, that they maybe establish like more like short-term goals, like every week, kind of maybe like highlighting things like that you mentioned. So that way you're planning out your weekly schedule, so figuring out what you need to prioritize. But it's also important to be identifying, again, these long-term goals and steps towards what motivates you, which kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier. And it's always helpful to have ways to visualize these goals to help remind yourself. So again, having that study plan, having that to-do list, having something written on like a whiteboard, for example. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna break into doing this little activity. So what we have going on here, it has the acronym for you, and then it's asking you to pretty much create one or two of those SMART goals, academic or learning goals for yourself and for your immediate future. And so I'm gonna ask everybody to take some time and maybe write down like a goal or two that they wanna work on. And then on the back, it actually breaks down for each one of those goals. You can jot down what are some of the possible benefits if you achieve that goal, what are the costs if the goal is not readily achieved, what are maybe some barriers, challenges, or obstacles you could face, and what are some potential solutions, support, and resources. And then it also breaks down, you even could write down just some ideas for what are some of the tasks and things like that that you could be completing. And this is just like a good practice for like something, this is like something that you could do, you know, outside of this particular session. This is just kind of a way to kind of be thinking about your goals. Do you need one of these sheets? Yes. Okay. Hold up. There we go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So everybody go ahead and take some time to work through that, and we'll jump back in just a few minutes. Just gonna try to find some music, but. Play some quiet music. Yes.
I'm gonna do this at home. Are you going to do any more talking after this, or just discuss the goals? And or do you have your PowerPoint accessible at all?
So I know traditional we haven't made it the PowerPoint accessible. Actually, let me check and see where we're at with slides. Admittedly, I need to. We're towards the end. I just pretty much been talking about like self-care and stuff like that at that point. Like 2 more slides.
Okay.
But you're welcome to do that at home.
Yeah. I just didn't know how much more you had after
Mhm.
this.
And then I'm actually going to ask and see about, so they can access the stream, because we have the stream available actually if you wanted to like use that to kind of look at the slides, for example. And that's your web courses? YouTube? Okay, it's going to be on YouTube. So you would look up, yeah, so you just look up like SARC, like UCF, like on YouTube, and you should be able to find the video. Whoops, no. Whatever. All right. Hey. Yep, no problem.
Can I have your name?
What's that?
Can I have your name?
Ben.
Ben?
Yes. Do you need anything filled out or anything?
No.
You're good?
The name.
All right. Last name is Coberly, so Coberly. Just sign on it?
Yeah.
Sure.
So can I also have your signature?
Yeah,
too?
that's cool.
I don't know what your, I know your department's Trevor Coburn Hall or your office. Or,
Mhm.
Where's the floor?
Oh, it's some AC program.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So I will get that signed. He said he needs to like leave right now. We're gonna go ahead and finish up because we also have an evaluation. If you could actually try to fill that out real quick, that's a record of your attendance. But we have 2 more slides. I have 2 more slides to go over, so I was gonna go ahead and okay. 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 Sounds good. All right, so we are going to go ahead and kind of come back together. So right now, Jessica is passing out the evaluations. We do have 2 more slides to go over, and then you'll have a window to go ahead and fill those out. That's what's going to serve as your like record of or the record of attendance that we're going to hold on to. And once we finish up the presentation, that's when you can turn those in to us. And then also, if you need anything signed, we can go ahead and get that taken care of. Okay. But we have 2 more slides. But thank you guys for going ahead and working on these activities. Hopefully it kind of set up, just like in the future you can kind of think of, all right, what are my goals and what are the steps I need to take, and kind of start to think in this kind of way, and that can help provide more structure for the activities and the tasks you're actually doing to work towards those goals. And this is also an example of a sheet that I pulled from the SARC online website. So again, if you're interested in trying to find things like this and you found this helpful, you can go ahead and access that and find similar resources. And this is also something that we would potentially use in like an academic coaching kind of setting. Again, if you wanted to explore something like this in more detail and process it in a way that's more specific to you. All right, so one more thing, so self-discipline. And so I think that's where when most people think of procrastination, they think of, I'm struggling with like my ability to be disciplined about what I'm doing. And so again, that's why it's important to identify a space and a time where and when you can limit distractions and get work done. So again, if you are like creating deliberately in your schedule, like this is the time and this is the place that I'm gonna work on, a specific assignment, a specific class material, I'm going to study. You create that kind of plan. Usually then you can try to create a space and a time to limit those types of distractions. So avoiding being on your phone, avoiding just surfing around like on your laptop or anything like that, or any other types of distractions that you may face. It's been found that students who study in a quiet environment tend to study for less time and also more effectively. So keep that in mind. While maybe like having some type of white noise can be helpful to you, you don't want to be in an environment that's like incredibly stimulating and overstimulating and distracting you constantly. So keep that in mind when you're identifying what that kind of place where you want to be doing your studying is going to be like. Also, too, though it's not included here, when you're studying for an exam, try your best to replicate the conditions of like when you take the exam. So if you're not going to be chewing gum in the middle of your exam, don't chew gum while you're studying. It sounds kind of absurd, but it has been found that like even small conditions like that can affect performance. So like one of the fun studies, which I didn't include on here, is that they found that people who like were sober when they studied and then were sober when they took the test did better than people who were maybe sober when they studied but drunk during the test, or drunk when they studied. Actually, no, it wasn't about drinking, it was about being high. So if you were high while studying but sober when you took the test, people tend to do worse. Or if you were sober while studying but high while you took the test, again, that was it was found to be different. So you need to be high across both or sober across both. Please pick sober across both. But it's just an interesting study just to point out that like test conditions are important, so try to mirror those to the best of your ability. So again, if you're taking a practice test, maybe you shouldn't be like listening to music while doing it, because maybe then you're building kind of an association with the material, with the music, and you're not going to have that type of stimulation when you actually take the test. So something to think about. All right, and then always I like to end on a note of like self-care. So make sure that you're also being kind to yourself. So cutting back on sleep to get assignments done is not really going to benefit you ultimately in your long-term health. Try to, again, create a plan or something so that way you're not like cutting into the other things that are also important for your functioning and your thriving while you're in college. So make sure to plan for breaks. So again, if you make like a study plan like we talked about, include break time in there and time to do fun things. Plan fun activities for when you're finished working. If you start during like the beginning of your day and you have all your stuff planned out and you get things that you need to get done, then you know that later in the evening you can relax and enjoy yourself and not have anything over your head being like, oh my gosh, I still haven't worked on that paper yet, or anything like that. You can just be present and enjoy yourself. It's a great way to incentivize yourself to get stuff done. You know, maybe you're gonna go out to eat or go out downtown or something like that later with like friends, and you know you have all your work finished, or you wanna have all your work finished so you don't have to worry about that and you can go out. Treating yourself after working hard. So it may sound silly, but like, you know, treating yourself to something nice like candy or like something else that you enjoy after you've been working hard, because you deserve that. And then, of course, as always, practice self-care. So make sure that you're eating well, making sure that you're exercising and being active, making sure that you spend time with other people and not isolate yourself. All those things are very important. All right, and then as always, if you find yourself struggling, there's a lot of different resources that are available to you. These are just some of them here at UCF. It's a great time when you're in college to try to take advantage of all the free resources that are available to you. So you have professors, academic advisors. If you're struggling with like loans or paying for things, there's a student financial assistance office. There's CAPS, like the counseling center, career services, all of the services that we provide at SARC. UCF Cares, which can help direct you towards other resources available on campus that maybe you weren't aware of to kind of help you through whatever your individual situation is. And then you can always identify study buddies. Again, you can find different resources through the UCF website, and then relying on different social support and things that you have available to you. And then I kind of mentioned this earlier in the presentation, but just a reminder that all the ideas that were expressed here are merely just like a starting point. Everybody has different learning styles, schedules, needs, responsibilities. Those are all unique to them, and so it's important for me to recognize that. But again, these could be a good starting point for you to maybe start that journey of finding things that are going to work to accommodate those for you. What may work well for some people may not work well for others, and that's okay. And again, college is a great time to be flexible and creative. Again, you have all these resources at your disposal and plenty of opportunities to try to identify what things are going to suit your learning style, suit your responsibilities and needs. So take advantage of those, identify your motivations for doing well, and then that can also set you up for being successful out of college when you're going to be needing to balance responsibilities and manage your time as well. All right. So with that, that concludes the presentation. So you can go ahead and keep working through the evaluations, or you can turn those into, so actually, do you guys want to identify yourselves so you can collect evaluations too? So we have these 3 lovely people right here on the table, or myself. We can collect those, and if you need us to sign, we can take care of that for you. You guys can do the signatures too, right? Yeah. Cool.
Can you sign right here?
Yes.
What office are you at? I know it's TCH.
I believe we're in 117, right? Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I always forget the number. I just show up there every day.
Did you end
No, I haven't yet.
Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.